They're the two big locks for England. Wade Dooley, the Blackpool Tower, the big policeman from Fylde, 203 centimetres, and his partner, Steve Bainbridge, only 2 centimetres shorter. So it's the biggest England pack they've fielded for the tournament. And certainly 2 men to match the tall timber of Australia. Number 11, Gary Hine, the captain of the University of California football team last year, and he brought off some sensational gridiron-style hits in the match against Australia, as Steve Timon will verify. And there's big Bob Causey, outstanding line-out jumper, making his World Cup debut this afternoon. Stand by for the start. Final pool match, Pool 1. Mr. Kerry Fitzgerald this afternoon is assisted by Bob Fordham and Brian Kinsey. So the ball not travelling the required 10 metres, and we come back to halfway. With me is former Australian captain Mark Ella.
Well, it's a disappointing start for the Americans. When you're playing a game at this level, obviously both teams are very nervous, and it was important to make sure that that kick went the required 10 metres.
Gary Lambert, the flanker, number 6 on this side of the scrum for the United States. His opponent, Gary Reese. Jonathan Webb rifling that ball down. And Ray Nelson, the Eagles fullback, forcing the ball behind the goal line and back to the 22. Delightful conditions here at Concord. Certainly the weather in Australia and New Zealand for this World Cup tournament has been nothing short of magnificent. Winterbottom, fabulous game against Japan. Bainbridge wrapped up, and the Americans driving their opponents back. A very big, powerful forward pack this afternoon. Rob Andrew. Bailey scooting down the touchline, but a lovely kick by Andrew, just 2 metres out from the goal line.
Well, it was a magnificent kick by Rob. He virtually just touched that ball over the American backline and chucked a right-hand turn, and you know, England right on the attack.
Just 2 minutes of play in this first half.
4-3-6.
Causey winning well. That's very good line-out ball by the Americans. England caught offside at the back, but first touch of the ball there for the giant American lock, Bob Causey, and what a vital line-out win it was.
Well, both teams have got very, very big packs, and you know, I'm sure England are expecting to win their share of the ball, but as we say, Causey hasn't played a game so far, and they've saved him up just for this match.
Kick by Joe Clarkson, finding touch 20 metres out. Ron Mays, the Eagles coach, New Zealand born. And plenty of supporters on the far side for the Eagles. Expert control by England. Andrew has a shot, and just missing on the left-hand side. He's kicked 6 field goals in test matches, and 89 points in all for England.
I don't think England will take too many chances. They'll try and keep the American side confined to their own territory, just as they did to Japan last weekend.
Dean Richards, the man top left, just paunched over at the moment with referee Kerry Fitzgerald. He must have received a knock on the left shoulder by the look of it. Dean Richards, former England schoolboy player, actually had his first club football for Rouen in France. So he came up in a pretty hard school over there, and he was a member of the crack Leicester team that beat the All Blacks back in 1982. Those certainly were the halcyon days for Leicester, with Les Cusworth, Dusty Hare, fabulous backline, very committed side, Mark, and I know you took them on back there in 1982.
Well, that's right, and I think from memory they beat us. You know, Woodward and Dodge, a terrific combination, as you said.
Burlingham went high, taken by Vizard. Good ball here for the Eagles, but they didn't control. Rick Bailey at the front of the line out for the Eagles, opposed to Gary Pearce, and there's the Blackpool Tower. Good jump by Bainbridge. Richard Hill to Rees. Referee Kerry Fitzgerald just speaking to Gary Lambert. Watch the feet, son, he says. Rick Bailey, the loose head prop on this side for the Eagles. Two very low scrums. But if there's an area where the Eagles need to work, according to the Australians anyway, Mark, it's on their set plays, their line-outs and their scrums.
Well, with such big men, you think they'd spend a little bit more time and get that scrum nice and tight, because they've certainly got the power if they can just combine it all together.
Scrum holding at the moment. Now the second shove comes from England. The Americans reply. Winterbottom, solid tackling too. Richard Hill to Andrew. Cut out pass. This is Jonathan Webb. And this is Bailey. Lovely tackle. Nelson, the fullback. And the Eagles are giving an early indication that they're going to really contest this game all the way.
Well, they will, but I'm a little bit concerned about their defence. When that pass did go wide, the winger stayed with his man, but Nelson was still a long way behind.
Two monster packs this afternoon. Captain Ed Burlingham in the second row for America made his debut in 1980. The oldest man at 35. And Mike Saunders, the San Diego halfback. Not gaining much ground at all, I'm afraid. We're still on the 22-metre line. And we've been down in this area for the first 6 minutes of the match. Pass just wide of Andrew. Here's Webb again, and Mike Harrison. Hine. That kick almost went sideways. Dooley snaps it down in Australian football fashion. Gary Rees. The Eagles stretched at the moment. England running at them in close and on the short side. Saunders, the halfback, and we go back to the 22. He's looking to play on quickly.
Well, that was a silly kick from Winterbottom. He's been playing magnificently right throughout the tournament, and there was just no need for that. He could have set it up. The backs were lined nice and deep, and I think it was a silly play.
Fly half Joe Clarkson with a good kick-off, and the referee spotted a knock-on. So 7 minutes gone, no score. Pitch in super condition, and the crowd building up all the time. England wheels, spoiling the American ball. Clarkson on his left foot. That's a pretty handy effort too. No angle at all to work with. His only cap prior to this was against Japan in 1986. Here's Ed Burlingham opposing Wade Dooley.
6-3.
Graham Dorr throwing in for England. Well, the referee has found some barging, but I think you could safely say there that both sides were culprits.
Well, as soon as the ball went in, both sides just collided into each other, and really that penalty could have gone either way.
Yes, I've been watching Bainbridge, and he's jumping, and he certainly uses his shoulder across the line of touch when he jumps for the ball. But if he can get away with it, good luck to him. Now Jonathan Webb. This is the first shot at goal we've seen so far. It's hit the upright. Here's danger for America. The ball was knocked on. We've seen that quite a lot in this tournament. frustration for the goal kickers. Webb kicked 20 points against Japan. 7 conversions and 2 penalties. Richards, Hill, Harrison. Very elusive runner. England offside there. The referee's playing advantage. Yes, you may have seen that hand come across while the ball was still in the ruck. The player wasn't bound.
I'm a little bit concerned with the Americans' defence at the moment. The wingers are standing a long way back. When the ball does get out to the English wingers, they got about 6, 7, 8, sometimes 10 yards before the American winger makes them compete.
Yes, Mike Harrison must be very encouraged. Although he's marking a ferocious tackler in Gary Hine, he is a very raw athlete, Gary Hine.
But what he's doing by standing a long way back is giving Harrison plenty of time to get his balance and to think about making the step.
Paddled on by Rees. This is Jamie Salmon. Whoa! That was the Hail Mary pass. England under pressure here. Ray Nelson underneath. Man in front of the kicker. No, it's gone the other way. There was some late obstruction. Penalty here for England, and this surely will be the first points of the game. Webb just 10 metres off centre. 3-0 to England. 10 minutes gone.
I can't help but notice a difference when these kickers are kicking the ball now than when they first arrived in the country. Well, in Australia and New Zealand, they were wobbling through the air, but obviously they've all spent plenty of time with them, and now they're just gliding through right between the posts.
We've seen some marvellous rugby in this tournament in Australia and New Zealand. One harks back to Fiji's sensational victory over the Argentine Pumas. Then Italy bouncing back to beat Fiji, but bowing out of the World Cup tournament despite their win. Zimbabwe here in Sydney, Mark Ella awarded them the try of the day yesterday, although they were hammered in their match against France.
Purple, 6-3-5.
Well taken by Lambert, Burlingham, and a knock on there by prop forward Rick Bailey. Advantage play. Chilcott. Andrew. Cut out now to Salmon. He loves that left foot. And he's deadly accurate too.
Well, that was a beautiful kick. He took the long pass from Andrews, settled himself and really drove that one low.
Martin Green, the popular England coach, realising that it's a very tense scene out there. Although England has the lead 3-0, they can't afford a hiccup. If they lost this game, that's the end of the tournament for them. Sudden death. The loser bows out and returns home.
Black, 9-0-5. Live college.
8 metres from the halfway line. Clarkson coming off, an England player. So it's a nice game.
Well, he did really well, considering the pass he got. It was a harbour bridge pass that came to him nice and slow, and really he didn't have much time to put that kick in.
So now it's John Everett from Old Blues in San Francisco. Very aggressive hooker. Richards pouring through the line-out. No one sweeping for America. And the referee ruling that ball was tapped ahead. Well, Mark, what have been your impressions of the New Zealand performance so far?
Well, I'd have to say they've been the most impressive side today. Just the sheer power and control, even though they've been playing against weak sides. I'm still impressed by them because they've been ruthless in their approach, and I think that's the team that's ruthless will win this competition.
And we were talking about New Zealand's embarrassment of riches in the back row. Zinzan Brooke, Michael Jones, Mark Brooke-Cowden, guys who really are fighting to get a place in the side. But Zinzan Brooke, what a marvellous game he had the other day.
Well, that's right. You know, we in Australia have seen an awful lot of Zinzan Brooke with the sevens, but you know, to think that he only played his first cap for New Zealand a couple of days ago is just unbelievable.
Tight head here for England. Bailey standing in the tackle. Richards, Winterbottom, 10-metre line. Well, the defensive work by the Americans is good once they get the physical contact, but they've really got to get their front row tighter here because England applying enormous pressure on their scrum.
Red 6-4-7.
Number 8 is Brian Vizard, taken by Causey. The Americans had live scrummaging practice against the Australians 2 days ago here at Concord Oval. The comment was that they're a very big, powerful pack, but just still lacking in the finer points of scrummaging.
Well, I can't understand why Saunders took so long to put that ball in. Obviously, England have got a much better scrum. They should be just in it and away. Try and get away from those confrontations.
So that's certainly proving a problem area for the Eagles. So far in the game, we've had 15 minutes. England leading by only 3 points to 0.
4, 2, 6.
Nice gridiron throw. Wasn't straight, though. Ireland and Tonga playing in Brisbane this afternoon. Richards wrapped up by Lambert. Got it to Winterbottom. Hill to Andrew. Here comes Webb. Good defence. Andrew. They've lost it forward, England. Well, they seem to be taking heed of your advice, Mark, because they were equal to the occasion that time in the backs.
Well, they have to be. I think England were a little bit unfortunate when that breakdown. They all got into a mess and they were all bunched, and even if the ball would have gone to the player, I think they wouldn't have had any support.
Penalty against Gareth Chilcott there for collapsing the scrum. Gareth Chilcott making his test debut against Australia in 1984. Marvellous kick by Clarkson, 10-metre line, English territory. It's been a very low-key affair so far.
Well, England's had all the territorial advantage, but really they've never looked like scoring.
Bainbridge with a fine two-handed catch. Testing kick from Andrew. They all missed it. Lost ahead by England. Good view of the American scrum here. England pushing them off the mark.
Well, Saunders has got to try and get this ball in as quick as possible. A quick feed, a quick strike, and try and save the forwards. All the heartbreak up front.
Colorado's the scrum call. Another tight head. Jonathan Webb in the line. Back to Winterbottom, ever present. Salmon now to left winger Bailey. Salmon again, doubling round. Nelson in there defending. And the Eagles arrive in numbers. They pushed England back about 10 metres. Oh, super play from the American Eagles.
Well, what great work. That's probably the best piece of work that we've seen from the American side so far.
Well, if there has been a criticism of their play, it's been not getting the numbers to the rucks and mauls. But they were there that time. England were missing.
Well, they can do that every time. You know, we've already talked about it, how big and stronger they are in the upper body. Nelson makes the tackle, and all of a sudden they converge upon him, really. You know, they're big, strong men, and they've got to do it all together. England, look, we'll see the forwards coming now. We're a little bit slow. They were caught unaware.
And the man who really started the drive was the big, fast flanker, number 6, Gary Lambert. Neck injury here for Gareth Chilcott, the French polisher. Better scrum from the Americans. But another tight hit going to England.
And again, I think the American half has got to put that ball in a little bit quicker. Every time he holds onto it, England are getting the shove.
So third tight head to the England scrum. They lead by 3 points to 0. And most of the game has been played in America's half. 45-metre gain there by Clarkson. Fabulous kick. .30 metres out from England's goal line. Bainbridge again towering over his opponents. And Andrew has taken play over the halfway line. Rob Andrew having to play second fiddle to Peter Williams.
Silver!
But he came on against
4-9-5.
Japan after Williams injured rib cartilages. Brian Vizard at the back.
That all started from Richards, the number 8 for England. The American player took the ball, but Richards is so strong. All he did was just force the American player backwards, and therefore the England team were always going forward.
Gary Owen from Andrew. Nelson's underneath. The Eagles cleaning up at the back. And Rees was offside by about 2 metres. Halfback Saunders with the ball at the moment from San Diego. And Joe Clarkson with that solid right foot punt kick, not finding touch. Harrison and Hine just brushes off Hine. Pop forward Pearce to Webb. Gary Rees. Now the hooker door. Harrison. And Hine into touch 1 metre out from the goal line. Will this be England's first try?
And again, that started from the basics of rugby football. Put the ball into touch.
Concern here for the Eagles. The line out right on the goal line. Richards at the front. Can he wrestle over? I think they might have got it down. Yes, they have. Graham Dorr, the hooker, has scored the England try. The first of the game coming after 22 minutes of play.
Well, it was good work from the English hooker then. Richards came around, really tried to go himself, but Dawes went straight in. In fact, I think it was Winterbottom. I thought it was the hooker, but it was Winterbottom. First, he rucked the ball out of Richards' hand. We'll see him go in there and use the momentum, spun around, and scored in a corner.
So the try going to Peter Winterbottom. Watch it closely. Dawes there, number 2, but Winterbottom rolled off the ball and got the ball down over the goal line. Webb looking to make it 9-0. Fantastic kick. But that all stemmed from the Eagles putting pressure on themselves. Instead of having the line out down near their goal line, they could have had it up around the 22.
And that's one thing these minor nations have got to realise. You just can't afford to make mistakes against well-established countries such as England. You've got to keep control of the ball. When you've got to put it out, you just got to make no mistakes at all, because these other sides are just too good.
Mike Harrison really causing problems for Gary Hine with his elusiveness. Rob Andrew, England playing with more confidence now. 30 metres out from their goal line. The Americans twice Olympic champions in 1920 and 1924. Joe Clarkson.
Well, I think this is the first scrum that the Americans have had in English territory.
And there's no guarantee they'll win it either. Clean ball for the backs. Clarkson. Higgins wrapped up. 35 metres out. Joe Clarkson again. Plenty of England jerseys there. He's lacking support. Hooker John Everett arrived, but the ball spewing forward. Salmon. Bailey. Nice step off his left foot. Rob Andrew. Quick clearance from Hill. Gary Reese, the flanker, out on the right wing. This is Harrison. Now it's Webb. Good defence. Clarkson takes it. Neil Brendel. But committed play from the Americans. England probing out wide.
Well, it was good defence. England had all the players. They had players in support, but again, the Americans would rose to the occasion.
Hold it! Hold it! Hold it! Hold it! Hold it! Hold it!
Halfback Saunders. Well taken by Clarkson. Now Vizard. Eagles looking for the ruck ball. Second rower, Burlingham. England suspiciously close to the offside line. I think they might have been lucky to get away with that one. England leading by 9 points to 0. And here's the ruck forming. Vizard arriving, supported by Lambert again. So the ruck is formed. England defence equal in close.
And we'll see that there's not too many England forwards committed to the rucks and mauls. What England have got to do, what America's got to do, is commit those extra loose forwards that are skylarking around the sides of the ruck.
England certainly can't afford to lose Rob Andrew. They've already lost Peter Williams with a rib cartilage. He wasn't fit for this game. Referee playing advantage. The halfback was offside. Mike Saunders around prematurely. One of the problems with United States Rugby is that their players don't take up the game until they're into their late teens and early 20s, mainly because it's not played in the high schools, but that's starting to change. And one of the main reasons is the cost factor. To kit out a gridiron player now in high school costs $1,200 US. A rugby player costs only $35. Clarkson, left foot. Good pressure there from Dorr and also Gary Rees. So there's no doubt that the Americans have to keep the ball out of this area. Wade Dooley at the front. Big charge. And the pass travelled forward.
Well, that's what the Americans have got to stop, and then the easiest way to do that is tackle low instead of trying to grab the big men such as Dooley up high. You've got to stop his momentum straight away by hitting him around the bootlaces.
So this looks to be fly half. No, it's the big second rower, Ed Burlingham. Remembering the Americans have already lost Bill Shiflett. Watch number 5. We didn't quite see him. Bill Shiflett has a broken hand, the legacy of the game against Australia. So the England forwards have been on top in the set pieces. Almost another tight head. But somehow Clarkson got his kick in. I don't know how.
Well, that was a magnificent kick under those circumstances. The American scrum was going backwards at a rate of knots, and somehow he still got the ball out.
Again, jumping superbly with 2 hands. And just what the Eagles don't want, another scrum. But you may have seen in that last scrum that the American hooker was lucky to even strike for the ball. Enormous pressure coming from the England front row. Not to mention the drive from the 2 giant second rowers. Andrew, cut out pass now. This is Salmon. Jonathan Webb stepping beautifully. Harrison's in there. Bailey coming through on Nelson. Fair catch. Well, I wonder if Ray Nelson will be able to keep up his record of a try in every World Cup game. He's a former Scottish Schools representative and a former British under-17 400 metres champion. 27-year-old Bath farmer, Graham Dorr. Wade Dooley stretching out like a winger. Hill. Chilcott at halfback. Intercepted by Tom Vinnick. Gary Lambert. And Nelson puts a bit of sanity back into proceedings.
Well, the American defence has been first class. England are only leading by 9 points, and when you consider we've nearly had 35 minutes of play, that isn't a bad effort.
Well, here's a bit of concern for the former lumberjack, Gareth Chilcott.
I thought he was a French polisher.
Former lumberjack. They both are wooden based, aren't they?
Yes, certainly are.
Gary Lambert in 2 minds, but he got the call from his fullback. Gareth Chilcott has been having constant physiotherapy on his back. but he's been one of the most improved players in the England squad. His fitness has improved markedly, and Tom McNabb, the fitness advisor for the England team, has spoken in glowing terms about this chunky prop forward. He's one of the real characters too in the England squad. Wade Dooley. Offside America. Certainly struggling against the height of Dooley and Bainbridge.
Let's go, Eagle! Second win, baby! Get in there! Second win!
It will be Ron May's last assignment in this World Cup as the US coach. He's been in charge of them for 5 years. He brought them out in 1983. And they played well, really, until they came up against Australia, Mark, in that test when the backs cut loose.
Well, he's certainly brought the side a long way. Obviously, they've still got a distance to go, but you know, he's gone through the infancy stage, and I think the USA can only get better from here.
Webb has been striking the ball beautifully. That's his second penalty goal. He's also kicked one conversion. 8 minutes before half-time. England leading by this fairly handy margin at the moment. Mike Harrison. Off the side. This is Clarkson. He's following. The Americans are onside. Richards underneath. Very strong player. Very skillful also. And that's a nice clearing kick by Richard Hill, the England scrum half. He played in the first 3 Five Nations matches before being suspended for the last game, the Calcutta Cup match at Twickenham. And here he is now playing his first World Cup game, playing second fiddle to Richard Harding. There's Bainbridge. Here's the gridiron thrower, beauty too. Knocked on by Lambert. Referee's playing advantage. Now, Big Steve Bainbridge, number 5 in the England second row, packing down with Wade Dooley. He must be the only international rugby player to have been able to jump his own height. He's a former schoolboy high jump champion, clearing 6 feet 7.5. Saunders caught offside again. Referee playing advantage. And now, is he going to award the penalty? Well, he felt that the advantage went England's way. They didn't take advantage, and so we'll see a line-out.
Well, I'm a little bit surprised there. He's really got to play the advantage. He put his hand out for an England penalty and really should have followed through with it.
Gary Lambert. Back it goes to Brendel. This is Vizard. Joe Clarkson. That's a very good Gary Owen. Webb's underneath. Richards. Hasn't he been superb under the high ball? The Eagles arrive in numbers. We have a scrum feed. Someone's lost a boot. Here's Adrian Skeggs, the former man from Lord Howe Island, playing with the Warringah club. But Richards, hasn't he been absolutely breathtaking under that testing high ball?
Well, look at this high ball from Clarkson, and I must admit, being an former inside back, just how comforting it is to have a player of his ability, particularly in this type of situation where the forwards are screaming through. I know what I'd do. I'd rather he take it than me.
Another furious drive from the American forwards, and England certainly on the back pedal. Once they do get there in numbers to that breakdown, they are quite formidable. Halfback, Saunders goes in. Gary Hine. They almost ran into each other there, the Eagles. Can they get the ruck ball? They still have the scrum feed.
Well, it's very difficult for the American backs to attack at the moment because their scrum is going backwards, and we saw then that once the ball did go to Clarkson, he made no attempt to go forward past the advantage line.
Yes, this is a real problem area for the Americans, the scrum. That's where they've been outclassed so far. That's a better effort from them. Now, the halfback Hill is right out away from the scrum. He's not allowed to do that. You're allowed to follow the ball around in the immediate vicinity of the scrum, but he was standing out at fly half, which really ruled him offside because he was in front of the last feet in the scrum. Quick hill again from the Americans. Clarkson. Vinnick. Back to Vizard. Gary Reese. Fine play by the England flanker, but the Americans looking as though they might have found a hole. Rob Andrew finding touch midway between 22 and halfway. Mr. Bob Fordham, the touch judge on the far side, he refereed the opening match of this inaugural World Cup between New Zealand and Italy, one the Italians would want to forget.
Black. 5-7-1. Lambo.
Good line-out ball for England. Mike Bailey's following this high kick. Mike Purcell with his first real touch of the ball. And England players going over the top, not staying on their feet. Good take there by the former gridiron star, Mike Purcell.
In that kind of situation, it must be awfully hard to try and stay on your feet, and we've seen right throughout the year that referees are giving those type of penalties. It may be better just to try and stay on your feet and just flank the sides.
The Eagles running it here. Gary Hine took his eye off the ball. That was a shame. I won't tell you what he said.
Well, again, that was a shame. The Eagles have rarely seen the ball, particularly Gary Hine, and the first chance he gets it with a little bit of room to move, he drops the ball.
Yes, it was just over anxiousness from the Eagles' backline. Richards. Clever pass away to Hill. And it looks as though the referee's penalising the halfback for maybe picking the ball out of the scrum, or one of the players in the England side obstructing an opponent. Hard to see. 2 minutes before half-time. Another good kick by Clarkson. 25 metres out. A chance now for the Eagles to launch something. Dooley unopposed at the front. Graham Dorr back to Bainbridge. Chilcott in his pocket, but into touch. Well, these Americans, as I've mentioned, are all very versatile athletes. In a sense, a bit like the American women's field hockey team, who were all athletes. They had no background in field hockey, but they were trained in the finer schools, and there in 1984 at Los Angeles they took the bronze medal, defeating Australia in a playoff. It's a nice looking kick, isn't it? 5 metres out. Chance now for England. Francis Clough. Solid tackle it was too. Joe Clarkson, the man. Hill to Chilcott. Winterbottom. The Americans driving in. The advantage has gone their way. Richard Hill. Back inside to Richards. He's been a tower of strength. 20 metres out. Half-time whistled to go any second. So there it is, half-time. England having scored just the one try, leading an American side that has been far from disgraced, certainly lacking in some of the finer points of the game, but plenty of commitment there, Mark Ella, for England to try to Winterbottom. A conversion by Webb. He's also kicked 2 penalties. 12-0 at half-time. Quick comments from Mark Ella.
Welcome back. At the moment, it's England holding the advantage by 12 points to 0. Quick comment, Earl.
Well, I'm terribly impressed with this chap Richards for England. He's really strong. He looks like a raw-boned New Zealander from out of the back of the King Country, really, rather than a man from such a sophisticated country in Europe.
Yeah, oh, I love him. It's a pleasure to agree with you, Earl. He's a top-ranking number 8 in the World Cup. I love that Chilcott too in the front row. He looks a very attractive fellow. But England aren't pouring it on yet, and I expect the game will go in much the same tempo, much the same fashion as the game we saw earlier, where England will pour it on in the second half.
Certainly the American team have been outclassed in the scrums, but they're still giving enough cheek to show that they are still a threat for this last 40 minutes.
Well, they're doing what they always do. They tackle well, and the English backs are standing absolutely static. Andrew's standing still all day long, and then he's shoveling one wide pass across to Jamie Salmon, and he's standing still, and they're trying to flick a fullback and a wing three-quarter outside, which means pretty easy to sort of judge where you're going to have to make your tackle. It's going to be outside Jamie Salmon, and therefore it's going to be a lot easier to get the ball.
Bill Curtin. OK, time for a restart. Let's return to the Concord Oval. Our commentators there are Gordon Bray and Mark Allen.
So welcome back for the second half of this game between the United States and England, the final pool match in the Australian sector, and the winner of this game to go through to the quarterfinals, and the winner will also play Wales in that quarterfinal. England leading at half-time by 12 points to 0. And joining us for the third quarter of this game, a special guest. I'll come back to that. Dean Richards. Causey sweeping, but he's been forced back 5 metres. Richard Hill. Andrew. Not his best kick. Straight up. Lambert's underneath. Oh, well taken. No, it wasn't. Harrison lost a head. Advantage here for the Eagles. Nelson. And that's a good clearance. About 7 metres from halfway. Yes, our special guest is Colin Scotts. He's the first Australian to play in America's National Football League after being selected by the St. Louis Cardinals. Colin's last experience with international rugby was on the Australian schoolboys unbeaten tour of the UK in 81-82. So that means he's played with men like Michael Liner, Brett Papworth, Matt Burke, Cameron Lillicap, Steve Tyneman and Mark Harthill. Bainbridge jumping superbly. Andrew again with beautiful clearance from his halfback. This is Clough. And England's got a case of the dropsies. 12 metres from halfway. Now a good opportunity for the Eagles. Clarkson trying to lob it inside the touchline. Bounce important. Webb. He loves to counter-attack this England fullback, Gareth Chilcott. Skillful play by the prop forward. Bainbridge. Hill flicks on. Andrew, overlap for England here. Winterbottom. Looming up now is Clough. Harrison. Siding break from the England skipper. He's still going for the corner. Desperate defence from the American Eagles. But Colin, it must be frustrating. I guess you'd love to be out on the field.
That's for sure, Gordon. This is the game that started all for me, and well, I'm envy of any rugby player out there at the moment, that's for sure.
Now, what about this Eagles side as we have a look at this replay? They're very committed in defence.
That's for sure. That's the Americans' system, defence. That's where it starts. English looking really good there. Backing up each other very well.
7 metres out. Richard Hill to Gary Rees. Another loose pass. They're just getting a little flustered, England, but full marks to the bustling tactics of the American Eagles. And I might ask you what influence American football or gridironers had on the Eagles' play. Have you seen any signs coming out in their performance?
Definitely good, and I'd say the tackling technique. American football is, that's one thing we really are drilled on, is that tackling and tackling low. And you've probably seen some in a couple of other games how they really do go at like a spear sort of technique. That's the way we're taught. And I think, just in discipline, staying low, and just, you know how Americans are. That's discipline's their way.
But there's a real problem area for the Americans in the scrums. England's been penalised this time, but they've got the size and the bulk. It's just
yes,
technique.
you can just see by looking at it. Good, yes, they're definitely a bigger side than the Americans. But yeah, that's where you got to set it in the scrums, and they're certainly having problems holding the front.
Now, rugby in the United States, how popular is it?
Picking up, good, and I've been watching a few games in Hawaii, actually, and I've been really impressed with the potential that's been going on. It seems to be picking up every year, more teams, more interest. And I'm just hoping, one of these years that the US will come out and really give one of these big nations a real run for their money.
Gary Hine couldn't take it. Hill on the short side, Winterbottom. And I don't think the England backs were impressed there. I thought they felt the ball should have come their way. Gary Rees looking for a try, and he's lost it. Well, they're certainly giving England something to think about in this game. The score is 12-0 at the moment. And both sides looking for victory here to win through to the quarterfinals.
Yeah, lovely to get back. I haven't seen a good game of rugby in about 2 years, good. It's really terrific to be here.
Well, this is a marvellous achievement for you, the first Australian to play in America's National Football League. How's it all come about for you?
Actually, mate, it all started, of course, from the Australian schoolboys touring with the 81-80 tour. It was just by fluke that we were playing against an American side in a University of Hawaii. There's the University of Hawaii coach just walked across the field and said, gee, these guys are crazy. I wonder if a rugby player could possibly play American football. So I came down to Australia and actually asked Steve Tyneman, of course, a lock for Australia, and myself if we'd like to come over. And I sort of said, oh, it's a bit of a joke. But then I started adding it all up and, realised I could get a scholarship and everything else that went, into the American scholarship system. And I just said, I'm crazy if I don't take this up. So
it certainly is quite a fairy tale for you. And Winterbottom has scored. No control at the back of the American scrum. Second try to the straw man. And again, the Achilles heel for the Eagles. They're scrummaging. Just lack of control.
Yep, that's scrum again, right? If they can't hold it.
It came out in the deeper channel.
Should have come out the lock's feet, I guess.
And Saunders, the halfback, a little slow to size up the situation. Peter Winterbottom certainly wasn't.
He's a fine player, that fella.
Jonathan Webb has been right on target today.
I think you could teach a couple of Americans how to kick that fella. That's a beautiful style.
Right on target. A bullseye with the ABC cameraman too. Yes, now what does this mean for you, being selected by the St. Louis Cardinals?
I go into camp, Gordon, in about a month and a half for 6 weeks of intense training, and hopefully at the end of that I'll be, playing the next year with the William Fitzgerald Perrys and all the boys, which is really exciting.
Rob Andrew. Saunders. Is Gary Hine. Back it goes to the big US hooker, John Everett. The American backs haven't seen a lot of the ball. This is Webb. 18-0 the score. England doing it pretty comfortably now. Gary Lambert underneath. Star in the Eagles 7-a-side team. Well, tremendous break here by Harrison. He's run through 7 or 8 players. Hine going down on the loose ball, just missed the flying boot of Gareth Chilcott. Hand in the ruck against America. And I guess this is going to mean a lot of money for you too.
Yes, good, and it certainly is. That's American sport, and if you can make it in the American system, especially in football, there's certainly a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow.
Almost a pot of gold at the end of Mike Harrison's rainbow here, but a desperate diving tackle by Causey stopped his momentum. And there you saw number 1, Gareth Chilcott, hacking at the ball and narrowly missing the skull of one of his opponents.
Actually, Gordon, we have a fellow from New Zealand, Mark Nua, who's been doing very, very well on the team, and he'll have a good shot at going pro too in a couple of years, and he's really been looking good.
Jonathan Webb looking for another penalty goal. This will be his third penalty goal. Two tries, 2 conversions and 3 penalties. Personal tally now of 13 points for Jonathan Webb, and he's really chasing hard after that England individual record of 22. 21 points to 0. Rob Andrew. England feeling very much a second string backline this afternoon, with key members Rory Underwood, Kevin Sims, Richard Harding all missing. But the replacements have certainly been impressive. Here's Lambert, wrapped up by Gary Rees. And the Eagles now have the scrum feed. Yes, what sort of money do you stand to earn? I know Gary Hine was captain of the University of California on the left wing for the Eagles. He's hoping to get a contract for about $100,000. But we'll just watch Andrew here, probing. That's a bottom rung contract, but I guess there's potential to earn up to the millionaire status, isn't there?
That's for sure, good. Yeah, I've been talking 300, 500,000 a year, and that's only for 6 months' work. Makes hard work look a bit stupid.
And what about your lifespan?
Sorry?
What's your lifespan football-wise?
Usually, mate, unfortunately 3 years for my position. It just happens to be what I call a Russian front, the hardest position to play on the American Football League, but I'll be looking to play a little bit longer than that, mate. Tape me up, I'll be right.
Joe Clarkson. Mike Purcell coming through. Now the referee has ruled men in front of the kicker there, and I must say I don't agree. Maybe there was someone inside the 10 metres, but Purcell was certainly behind the kicker.
Just trying to get these rugby rules down again, Gordon. After all these American rules, it's a lot different.
Don't worry, they still confuse the commentators, don't worry. 21-0. 4 England tries to Peter Winterbottom, 2 conversions by Webb and 3 penalty goals by Webb. There's a good jump by Vizard. Burlingham comes through. Gary Rees, tackled by Saunders, knocked on by Hill. England going over the top, but the referee's playing the knock on.
Seem to be working the blind very well in the English team.
Yes, they've made a lot of inroads there, haven't they?
Mm.
American scrum in disarray. Andrew. This is Salmon and Webb in the line. Harrison. Well, we've seen some very scrappy and sloppy play from the English side in the second half. That was the 4th tight head. Well, Cole, you're a pretty big lad. You played second row in the Australian schoolboy team. as England whip it to their backs. Rees, ever present. Lovely work by Hill. He's in the movement again. The England scrum half has really enjoyed himself out there this afternoon. Just in finishing, what are your physical measurements?
6'6", Goody, and 275 pounds, about 19.5 stone, 20 stone.
And I guess you're pretty fast too.
Yes, I have to be fast to play the American game, that's for sure.
Well, our production assistant Janet says you'll do her. But anyway, we wish you all the best with the St. Louis Cardinals, and I'm sure New Zealand viewers were interested to hear of your success, and we'll certainly follow your progress. And thanks for joining us, and we're sorry to see you've been lost to rugby.
Yes, thank you very much, Gordon. My pleasure.
Bainbridge got a hand to it. Well, just a hint of a right hand from the American. 2 number 5s opposed. But he's been around for quite a while, Ed Bellingham. He was voted the best all-round athlete at senior school. And there he is, formerly of Preston Grasshoppers, Wade Dooley. He's the first Lancashire policeman to be capped for England. He was also the Lancashire Constabulary's Sportsman of the Year in 1985. Yes, so Mark Ellis moved back in now, and Colin Scott, he's a big lad, isn't he? 19.5 stone.
He really is. I'm just taking a bit of time to adjust my headsets.
Yes, a super athlete, and as fast as a winger. He can run I guess, even time for 100 metres. You have to.
Well, it's incredible that a man that big, you know, some 19, 20 odd stone can, you know, run probably even time.
Well, the England camp certainly breathing easily, and they've marched the American scrum a full 15 metres. Rob Andrew, here's Webb again. And the Eagles' backs have been ruled offside. The crowd boos. So we've had 15 minutes of play in this second half. The game hasn't risen to any heights, Mark, but it's do or die.
Well, just look at this English scrum here. Referee Fitzgerald has been critical all day of the offside law. We really can't see it in that angle. It was a bit of a mess up between the English backs, but you know, the inside backs for America must have been offside.
Webb looking for his 4th penalty goal. No problem. 16 points so far, and the young man is all smiles. So England now really cruising. 15 minutes gone. They know they're safe as far as the quarterfinals are concerned, and they'll have a clash with Wales. That match will be played in Brisbane on the 8th of June. That's next Monday. Rob Andrew out to Clough. Well taken by Purcell. Nelson's outside. Richards in the way again. Couldn't take it. The Eagles arrive in numbers. Can they get the ball out? Oh, what a shame. The referee's found a knock forward.
The unfortunate part of that movement was the halfback Saunders was trying to get the ball, but the players were still rushing in behind him and thus causing him to knock on the ball. we'll see it here. It was a good run by Purcell to Nelson, put up the high ball. Again, that man Richards was back there protecting it. Rob Andrew took it off him, but really the English, or the American forwards, just came steamrolling over the top. We'll see the halfback going pretty soon, trying to get the ball. It was virtually everywhere. He just couldn't get to it and must have knocked it on.
There's Nelson with his chip ahead. And look at the eager Americans following through. Richards comes in. He tried to slip it back to Andrew. The ball was jolted free. And again, the American scrum is down. The Eagles had a penalty try ruled against them in Brisbane. A somewhat controversial decision when it appeared as though the sheer weight of the Australian pack had caused the American scrum to go down rather than the Eagles collapsing. But Mark, I would say that the Eagles scrum against Australia was probably better than their scrummaging today, and they've made a lot of changes for this side today.
Well, that's right. I think this team may lack a little bit of combination. Obviously, this is the first time that this squad of 8 have been together. But I think the English pack have just really just drove in nice and low all day and really putting pressure on the opposition.
Just outside the 22.
Come on, get it clear!
Andrew pumping the ball up the touchline, 5 metres from the halfway. Very balmy day here in Sydney. Cloud cover encroaching on the ground now. It certainly helps our television pictures because we get a very big shadow from the grandstand. And the Americans guilty of not throwing the ball straight into the line out. And John Everett usually spot on in that area. $24 points to 0. England with the ascendancy. Andrew certainly used his right foot quite often this afternoon. And it has kept the Eagles on the back foot.
Well, they were the same tactics that Williams used against the Japanese, and I don't think England are going to take any chances at all. Obviously, they're going to win this game, but they don't want to give any points away at all.
Gareth Chilcott says, who, me? A look of astonishment on his face. Ball was knocked back. Offside England. Booker Graham Dorr. This man hasn't seen much of the ball. Kevin Higgins. Andrew, Webb, Salmon, Harrison's outside. Salmon clapping on the pace, but we've seen quite a few ankle taps also this afternoon. Now the Americans have a chance to run back at England. And here's Gary Hine. Just short of halfway. Chilcott across in cover defence. Great to see the big men, the prop forwards, getting round the paddock so well, and that's been a feature of England's play in the tournament, Mark, their mobility and fitness.
Yes, it has been, and the English forwards have been driving through with particularly the weaker oppositions all the time, and therefore they're drawing on the props and the second rowers and the hookers to really become involved. We'll look at this movement here.
Lovely inside pass to Purcell.
But all of a sudden the ball popped up for Hill and went right along the English backline. And again, as Gordon said, the ankle tap really stopped that movement. Jamie Salmon was looking dangerous, a desperation attempt, and really that stopped the movement.
Jamie Salmon, well known to New Zealand viewers, having started his international career with the All Blacks, formerly of Wellington. And Jamie Salmon played his first test match for England against New Zealand at Christchurch in 1985.
On it, 16. On it, 16.
24-0 in favour of England. Good jump by Lambert. Nelson's coming in from fullback. Here he is. Bad pass to Purcell. Well, frustration for the Americans. Lack of cohesion.
I think winger Purcell didn't make it easier for his fullback. In fact, that pass looked a touch forward. He's really got to give his fullback enough time to come into the back line, settle himself, and then make an easy pass.
Richards to Hill. Andrew. Clough with a nice pass to Harrison. Jonathan Webb. Graham Dorr, the hooker. Clough landed only 10 metres out. England has scored 2 tries in this game, but a third is in the offing.
Again, the mobility of the English forward stood out when the player to receive the ball off the winger Harrison was in fact hooker Dawes.
Blue 247.
This is Jamie Salmon to Clough. Back to Webb. 15 metres out. Good clearance by Winterbottom. Now it's Mike Bailey. Lovely pass inside. Harrison over for England. Their third try. Skillful passing from the England side. That's Harrison's 4th try of the tournament. His 5th try of the tournament after a hat-trick against Japan.
Well, what a good English movement. It started with Salmon taking it on the inside again. Quick hands, Webb involved in everything. And we'll see it here coming along the back line. Bailey did extremely well. He kept the ball alive. It looked like he was cornered by his opposite number, Purcell, but Salmon in good support and a quick 1-2 to Harrison to score his 5th try for the tournament.
Yes, a great support here from the England players, and a link man was Peter Winterbottom. He's been everywhere this afternoon. Watch how he picks up the ball overhead, and then a good cut-out pass from Salmon, picked up beautifully there by Bailey, and then through the hands, and a fine England try. Jonathan Webb has had a super day with the boot. $28-0.
We'll just see that try again. It was good hands by Bailey, but he didn't panic. Even though Purcell had him covered, he tried to jink in and out. When he was finally cornered, again, good support by Salmon. And there goes our cameraman. Yes, it looks even better from upside down.
Well, that's really getting in the action.
Well, the ABC tried to cover as many angles as possible, so I suppose that was just another one of them.
I'm just wondering whether the try has been awarded to the ABC cameraman.
Check. 33, 47, 21.
Burlingham clears well to Lambert. Joe Clarkson supporting. He's the fly half. Pinnick with a chip ahead. Jonathan Webb comfortably taking the ball over the touchline, 15 metres out. England leading by 28-0. 2 tries to Peter Winterbottom. 1 to Mike Harrison. 2 conversions by Webb. He's also kicked 4 penalty goals. His personal tally, 16 points.
Oh, I'm surprised that linesman Fordham didn't see that slight touch in the back of an English player by Lambert.
Americans push right off the ball, another tight head. Number 5 for England. Well, I think the Eagles are going to have to get hold of one of those powerhouse scrummaging machines. England up inside the 10 metres from the line-out. Most of the top international countries use the scrummaging machine. I know the Wallabies took it right round Britain and New Zealand. And what's going on here? Ray Nelson. Quick hands. Purcell for the corner. Try! Look at Mike Purcell. He is over the moon. Well, the American Eagles haven't had a lot of joy during the tournament, apart from their win over Japan, but they're getting a standing ovation at the moment from the Concord Oval crowd.
Well, this was desperation stuff for the Americans. They really had to take the tap, but just look at Purcell once he gets the ball from the halfback Saunders. I think Dooley pushed him, but it was virtually tiptoeing down that sideline. Richards came across, but it was too late.
And an anxious look from Purcell after he'd scored the try, looking back at the referee.
Just look at it here. Dooley comes across, pushes him. He looks at the line, actually tiptoes down it, and a great try.
Marvellous try for the Eagles. That will give them great heart. Nelson struck it well. It's over. 22 points the difference. The margin looks to be far too great with 15 minutes to go, but what an effort here by Mike Purcell. Tiptoe through the tulips.
Well, it was an incredible balancing act. Not only did he have to tiptoe down that sideline, but he had to virtually lunge himself across the try line.
Burlingham takes it. Dooley thumps in. Here's Lambert.
Well, I know Alan Jones was very critical of both the English and American sides after the Australian team played them. He stated that they were offside far too often, and I think Terry Fitzgerald may have read those articles.
There's a whopping clearance by Clarkson. And the crowd feeling the ball went out further up the field. So the Eagles certainly have their supporters in numbers here. Lost ahead by Rick Bailey. Number 1. Loose head prop from All Blues, a former lineback at California Berkeley. Several of the US forwards with gridiron backgrounds. Well, there's a tight head for the United States. There's a surprise. Kick and chase. Higgins coming through. Webb barreled. The mark's been paid.
Well, that's the second time Winterbottom has thrown that punch. Obviously, he's connected this time. It looks like he's really laid one of the American players out. It may not have been the punch, in fact. It looks like he's holding some other part of his body, maybe the person who made the tackle.
Clarkson with a very good kick here. And the Americans really chased hard. Fine take by Jonathan Webb. Webb very secure under the high ball. Solid tackle by Higgins.
There it was there. I think that's where he's actually hurt his shoulder or his arm. Vinnick.
So Tom Vinnick from Hartford, Connecticut is okay. 28 points to 6.
Well, England can't afford to relax already. They've let in 1 try. They've just lost a tight head. What they can't afford by relaxing is injuries. If they take it too easy, particularly against these physical American players, they will come off the field losing 1 or 2 of their key players.
We haven't seen any gridiron passes from the backs in the tournament. Perhaps we might get that thrill before the game's out. Andrew. Mike Purcell.
And again, referee Fitzgerald, I think, ruling that the American side were offside. He's been absolutely vicious on this aspect today.
Webb not handling. It hasn't been England's best performance of the tournament, but they've certainly done enough to make their quarter-final spot secure. Their scrummaging has been a feature. That's really been the launching pad for England this afternoon, their superior scrum. Gareth Chilcott played tight head against Japan. Lambert, the flanker picking up. Again, Clarkson kicking. Too far. "11 minutes remaining before full time. Crowd building up. Australia to meet Japan in the next game here at Concord. Ireland taking on Tonga in Brisbane. That will clash with the game here in Sydney. Dooley. Bainbridge goes in. Loose pass. Francis Clough with a searching kick down to the 22. Snatched away by Nelson. He says, "Come with me, Gary." Nelson stretching his legs. Bailey in good position. And the referee has ruled accidental shepherding, accidental obstruction, not intentional.
I was a little bit surprised that Nelson kicked this ball. He finally did all the good work and had 2 or 3 players in support, but then we just saw then it was a shepherd. I don't even think the English hookers even striking for the American hookers striking for the ball.
They're playing on quickly. England didn't retire the 10. They still haven't retired the 10. So we might see another set ploy here. Joe Clarkson from Los Angeles. Ed Burlingham, the big skipper from California. Up and under. Here they come. Taken brilliantly by Richards again. He was moving though. No mark paid. And the Eagles will have the scrum feed.
Well, I think Clarkson made a mistake then. Of all the people to kick it to, he's probably kicked it to the, the most capable player in the English side.
Yes, the English have been cleverly not allowing the Americans to settle in their scrummaging. That's when they're able to push them back. They were ready that time. Fitzgerald. Forward pass.
And it just shows the lack of the Americans at the moment. England immediately dropped off their back row. What they should have done is controlled it in a number 8 position and then try and put on that second shove, as England have done consistently throughout this tournament.
Well, the 2 front rows have certainly seen a lot of the Concord Oval turf this afternoon. Andrew on his left foot. Hurried kick. He's gained about 2 metres in the field of play. So can the Eagles score again? I wonder if they might try a long gridiron pass here. We saw the Canadians do it against Ireland from an attacking position, or a defensive position, I should say, and the ball was thrown beyond the goalposts. But unfortunately, the pass went astray.
Well, Martin Green would be very satisfied with today's performance, and probably, as I said before, all he's hoping is that 15 fit players come off that field. Be very surprised if the Americans throw a long ball in here. England are only about 1 metre away from the actual line-out.
Yeah, I guess it's wishful thinking on my part.
Unless he can throw it to the winger high and about 50 yards across the field.
Taken at the front by Bailey. Saunders calling for it. Here it is. Can they get over the goal line? Long cut out. Hine. And Rob Andrew scurries the ball away. This is Purcell. Pass went forward. Well, Gary Hine's hands have let him down this afternoon.
I must admit, I'm not the greatest fan of terribly long passes, basically because they sit in the air too long. Admittedly, Hine should have taken it, but you know, he was under pressure.
Hills used the short side cleverly. Harrison coming through. Well taken by Hine. Spectacular stuff from the left winger. Gary Hine on the left wing wasn't able to train 2 days ago with the Eagles side because he has a badly sprained left ankle. It's patched up, and I'm just amazed he's managed to get out there this afternoon. But the Eagles have certainly won plenty of friends.